Hey everybody, it's Jessica, CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring. Today I want to talk to you about mistakes students make and why it is so important that they fix them right away. So, I want to know, does your student generally fix his or her mistakes sooner rather than later? Drop a yes or a no for me down below if you would, because this is for all of you parents out there that have kids that are making mistakes. Maybe they didn't do so well on a test, maybe they didn't turn in an assignment, or they forgot to do something, and they could have fixed it, but then they chose not to. So I have 3 tips for you over the next couple minutes that I want to give you to help your kiddos stop doing that. So the reason we're talking about this is because it is all about motivation to fix these mistakes, and I have an event happening right now through Sunday that is all about motivating students that are in middle school through college. So if you want to join in on the action, watch some interviews, get some tips, click the link in the description and join us for the interviews. So let's get back to it here. These mistakes that students make and how we get them to fix it. Why is it so important for you to encourage them to fix them sooner rather than later? Well, number one is simple. It is literally snowball. Like, that is the answer. The idea here is that mistakes snowball. If you don't do something, if you procrastinate, your kids procrastinate, it's just going to get harder and harder to catch up. The snowball gets bigger, the hole gets bigger, deeper, whatever you want to say. So do know that is the number one most important reason to encourage your kid to fix his mistakes sooner rather than later is so that we don't have anything adding up, getting worse and worse as the semester goes, as we get farther and farther into that class, or maybe even farther and farther into your child's school career. Okay? Now, the second reason it's so important to fix those mistakes is because of points, because of grades. So let's talk about the snowball effect again. So say your kid takes a test, it did not go well, your kid just did not get the assignments, didn't get the topics, just was totally confused, or maybe it was, your kid didn't study, he just totally forgot about the test. Well, whatever happened, the end result is the same. Your kid didn't do well, and he wants a better grade. You want a better grade for your kid, because you guys all know that if that bad test score stays on file, your kid's not going to get a good grade in that class. Well, the mistake students make is they go, oh no, I got a bad grade, that's it, it's done, I'm over. And other students go, okay, well, there's a testing retake, I can do this, but then they put it off. They procrastinate. They don't either know when they can take the test, like the retake. They don't know how long they have to take it. They don't know the process for retaking it. And they just decide not to do it because there's too many unknowns. They just decide it's too much work to take the test again, let alone figure out how to go about doing that. So parents, tip number 2 here for you on mistakes and encouraging your kids to fix them sooner rather than later is to know those testing retake policies. Okay, so that's tip number 2. So make sure your kid knows, can I retake? Can I not? How do I do it? What are all the kind of nitty gritty details of that? And that goes for late work too, because if your kid just has a day when he totally forgets to do something, or she's like, I just didn't understand it, and she puts it off, well, figure out what those policies are to see if you can get some points, get some better grades, because it would be so sad if your kid doesn't get points that he or she could have earned just because your kid put it off, didn't understand something as simple as a late work policy. Okay? So one more tip here for you before I jump into that, though. If you're just now joining us, we're talking all about mistakes students make and why we need to encourage them to fix them sooner rather than later. And we're doing this on YouTube and Facebook. So make sure you're a subscriber on YouTube, follower on Facebook, so you always know when I'm live, and make sure you turn on those notifications. So the third reason here we got to fix those mistakes sooner rather than later is for the fact that those mistakes lead to other mistakes. Okay, so unfortunately, as we're talking about snowball getting bigger, well, say your kid decides, I just didn't write it down, or I lost that homework, or I just don't want to do it. Well, all of these mistakes lead to the same thing, that your kid gets left behind in that class. Okay, so maybe a math class. I'm thinking about my middle school parents that are watching. Your kid might be doing one-step equations right now, And, in a couple weeks, you go into two-step equations. Well, if your kid makes the mistake of never understanding one-step equations, do you think he's going to be ready for two-step equations? Okay, and for all of my parents that are watching that have high school kids, a lot of the times you take physical science, then biology, then chemistry, then physics. Well, if you've got a kid right now that's taking biology and, is sort of figuring out the names of the organelles and is sort of figuring out maybe meiosis versus mitosis, but not really. And then all of a sudden, it gets the time for that big project at the end of the semester. I know what we had to do was we had to put a cell together. And we had to label the organelles. And we had to give a big presentation and do all this stuff. And, if your kid doesn't even know what these organelles look like on a piece of paper, on that test and the diagram, do you think your kid is really going to be ready for that in the semester, like 50% of the grade project where he has to put this cell together out of cake, out of styrofoam, out of whatever your child chooses to use? Because I got to tell you, it's not going to go well. Your kid isn't going to get a good grade on that because of one simple mistake. He didn't understand something. He didn't ask for help. So, I want you parents that are listening to be sure your kids are motivated to not make these mistakes. Okay, we want them asking for help. We want them not letting these snowballs build and build. We want them to know how to possibly make up some grades if that's a possibility. I don't want your kids to rely on test retakes, on late work policies. That's part of the reason I have my study course that I will be talking about here very soon as part of the event happening right now, Motivate Your Children to Succeed. So definitely, if you want to learn about the 9 study skills I teach, you want to hear from the 17 other amazing speakers I have at the event that are going to help your kiddos find their motivation so they're successful in and out of school, so they can unleash their full potentials and even graduate, because I know that is the end goal of school, no matter high school, college, or beyond. So definitely, once you're at that event, all you gotta do is click the link in the description so you can watch these interviews, including mine, and learn how to get your kiddos motivated. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Have a great night.